Hi, welcome to One Eye on the Page. I am Scott. I am doing a weekly reading wrap up for the first time in a long time. This is for August 26th through September 1st. Let's go ahead and get started. If you're a frequent watcher, or if you've just seen me pop up as recommended, you will notice that the summer I haven't quite posted as many videos as I was before. Lots of different reasons. Uh, During the summer, my kids usually spending time with their mom. Didn't quite work out this summer because I have a hip fracture, their mom. But I'm getting back on track. I'm posting my Stephen King short story rankings. I'm not going to say 100% for sure, but I should have next week a PG Woodhouse 5-year battle, which has been a long time since I've been doing that because I'm trying to read all the books I need to complete this. And I've done all the ones where I've finished all the books for the 5-year period. I will also be doing not a monthly wrap up, but a summer wrap up for June, July, and August because I haven't done one for June and July yet. And it just got so late that it's like I'm going to be doing one for June 3 I'm going to be doing one for June 3 months after June is over. So I'm just going to do one for the summer. But this is my weekly reading wrap up. I finished a lot of books this week, some that I had been reading for a while, months, and some that I started and read in this week. So there are quite a few books. Let's go and get started. The first one is Under the Rainbow by D.A. Hartman. This is a sapphic romance about a model, Debbie Wallace, who for reasons unknown to her, has been fired. And so basically, she's working at a coffee shop. She had an encounter with a Jolene Hunt, or Joel as she goes by, before, while she was wearing a mask. Debbie was. So Debbie knows who Joel is, but Joel doesn't know that Debbie is the woman that she met. Uh, Joel's partner, we'll say, which covers a whole lot more than we get into a short thing, has died of an overdose, and Joel blames Debbie on it. And a lot of it is Joel being showing lot of anger towards Debbie. And this ends up being a romance. It's a little strange for me. I understand the enemies to lovers trope. That's fine, but all the path taken there is a little bit so strange to me that I could just never really get into it. I'm gonna give this one a 3-star rating. There's a book. This is basically sort of a sequel to another book, except the first book has different characters who are in this book. I don't feel like I'm going to read that book based on this. But this wasn't awful, just wasn't too much to speak about. Next book is Southern Lights by Liz Arncliffe. Apologize if I mispronounce that. Sloan Sullivan is a teacher. Her wife has passed away due to COVID. This is after, 2020. And they worked together a long time. And she basically, all the color has been taken out of her world. And she goes to Australia on basically kind of like a teacher exchange thing. And there she meets Ava James basically on a beach one day, and they have a one day stand, basically, and then they part. But then find out that the place that Sloane is going to, Ava lives there also. It's owned by Ava's mother. And Ava is an actress. She thinks that Sloane did this on purpose, and Sloane is upset at that, and also upset the fact that she slept with another woman, like, I think like 14, 15 months after the death of her wife. I enjoy the relationship here. I think that there could have been more done with this, but overall, I enjoyed it. I'm gonna give this one a 4 star. Then read and or finished a series by Lise Gold. I actually finished 2 series by Lise Gold, but we'll get into this one, which is called The Compass. It's 5 books. The first one is called Northern Lights, as opposed to the next book called Southern Lights. And it's basically Highwash. Hannah and Christine are on vacation in Norway, basically seeing the lights. It's Christmas time. Hannah is a chef in London. Christine is, I'm blanking on what she is. Oh, she works in a bank in Louisiana. And the two of them are very attracted to each other. This book is like 147 pages, I believe. I remember. So it doesn't get real in depth. Basically, they go there, they meet each other, they like each other, they get together, and then they have to part. For what it is, it's fine. But I'm going to give it a 3 star because there's not a lot to it. The second book is Southern Roots. This also has Hannah and Christine in it. Hannah has a bunch of things going wrong with her life. Her ex is basically stolen money from her, causing her restaurant to have to shut down. And she and Christine, Hannah and Christine, had been communicating via email, but after this, Hannah kind of pulls back on contact because she's dealing with all the stuff. And then she finds out that her mother, who had given her up for adoption, died and left her a house and a restaurant, and it's in Louisiana, which, if you remember from Northern Lights, Christine lives in Louisiana. That's kind of the hardest thing to uh, go okay with, but so Hannah ends up going to Louisiana, goes to the small town, can't remember the small town, but works on getting the house and the restaurant ready to sell. So she's hoping that she can sell it and then use the money to reopen her restaurant in London. Uh, she does go and sees Christine. And the thing I really like about Lise Gold stories is that in another romance like this, there would be some huge fight about this because Hannah cut off contact and there would be misunderstandings. Uh, Lise Gold never, or at least I don't recall her going for kind of that cheap and easy way to do it. The two of them talk, and the two of them are like, well, you're going to be here for this long. Let's spend that time together. And then, they get closer, and it's like, well, maybe I can extend my time. And this book is, I can't remember how long, but it's over 400 pages long. It's a more extended view of their relationship, and it's beyond a one night stand kind of thing. Even though the first one was a one night stand, it was a fling, let's say. And I really enjoyed their relationship. I enjoyed the people in the small town that Hannah went to. First meeting them, I expected them to be Southern caricatures, but they didn't turn out to be that way. This one I'm going to give a 4 star. The third book in the Compass series is Eastern Nights. Kate Simmons, who is Christine's best friend, she's a designer and she spends a lot of time in the East. In I think it's in Bangkok, she meets Felicia Perez, and the two of them are, I guess, players, and so when they encounter each other, they kind of have a cat and mouse kind of game, being the hunter, I guess is what we call it, and for reasons that I don't really feel were delved into enough. Uh, both of them, but especially Kate, is like very resistant to relationships. I kind of wish that we had gotten more in depth, or at least a better reason why Kate isn't. I think of the novels in this series, not counting the first one, this is probably my least liked of. I didn't get into these characters as much as I did in the other books. I'm going to give this one a 3.5. The next one is Western Shores. It is Madison Wilson, who it turns out is Hannah's half sister. I forgot to mention in Southern Roots that Hannah obviously finds out about her mother, but she also finds out about her father, and her father had another family, and she meets her half siblings, and of course her father and her father's wife, and they kind of take her in as not quite family, because even at by the end of the book, there's not a father daughter a relationship between the two of them, but there is a relationship. It's just they didn't meet until Hannah was in her 30s, so it can't really feel like the father daughter. But Madison is her half sister. She is, I believe, like 23 or so. Uh, Recently graduated. She's doing a marine biology project. She rents a house from Allie Barnes, who is a widow of somebody who used to be, or she's a widow of a marine biologist. She has a very gifted son. I think he's like 11. And she is, and I haven't done this for a while, she is straight. Uh, Madison is not, but they almost immediately. Also, she's 37, I think. There's like a 12 to 14-year difference between the two of them, I think. But there's almost an immediate attraction between the two of them. But Madison thinks Allie is straight, and Allie thinks Madison is young and wouldn't want to waste time in this. And also, aren't I straight? Uh, but the two of them grow closer together, obviously. Uh, Again, I like Lise Gold books. Often avoids a lot of the really easy things to do. You don't often get like the third act breakup in her books. It's really just two people dealing with this, like age difference, and you just graduated college, and I have a kid, and people outside us, particularly Madison's mother, are like, "Is this really something you want?" And but I really like this relationship. I think they had the best chemistry out of all the books. This one I'm gonna give four half four. This one I'm gonna give 4.5 stars. Really enjoyed it. The last book is Northern Vows. Unlike the other books, there's not really a central couple. I guess Hannah and Christine, but it covers all the previous couples. Plus, there's an additional couple in here. Hannah and Christine are getting married. They're going to the same place they first met, inviting all their people, including Allie and Madison, Felicia, and Kate. There's also Daisy, who works at Hannah and Christine's restaurant. She's also an amateur photographer, so she's going there to do wedding photos. She meets a woman there also who is straight. I got to be honest, that relationship between Daisy and the Norwegian woman, who I'm blanking on her name right now, uh, I enjoyed that relationship in this book the most. Obviously, Christine and Hannah are getting married. Allie and Madison are in the book, but there's not really a lot that they do in the book. They're there and they're obviously together, but there's not drama. There is drama with Felicia and Kate because they're trying to get pregnant and have been trying to for a while. So many names. There's so many names. Hannah's father is there, along with his wife, along with some of the people who were in the first novella, the tour guides there, basically. This was fun, but because it's covering so many different stories, it didn't quite have the same depth as some of the other books, but it was the easiest read because it was mainly just story, bunch of different relationships, and you know going through them. I gave it a 4 star. Uh, Western Shores was my favorite of the series, but this one's still pretty good. Moonstone by Jaime Clevenger. Joy Henderson goes back to the small town she grew up in. She is running her late father's optometry shop, basically trying to get it up to speed and making enough money that it makes it worth her for her to sell, hopefully, so she can go back to San Francisco. Kelsey also comes back to town after breaking up with her girlfriend who OD'd. Basically, Kelsey was going to be in the Olympics until she had an injury, and then she had things go on after that. She is messed up quite a bit. Not that Joy is totally on the ball either, but when they were younger in high school together, they both had crushes on each other. Although Kelsey wasn't out, Joy wasn't necessarily out, but everybody pretty much knew she was gay. She was also one of the only black students at their school too. I don't really get why these two women are attracted to each other. I understand why they're attracted to each other when they were kids. I mean, not to downplay being a teenager, but it's less complicated. At least it was less complicated for their lives. But then they grow up and they're two different people, and except for the fact that they were attracted to each other when they were kids, I don't really see what pulls them together. And even though I feel like I like Kelsey better as a character, I'm also like, I don't know why Joy stuck around with Kelsey, because Kelsey was so hot and cold with, you know, being there for her. I think I've read like 4 Jaime Clevenger books so far. I don't think this one is the worst of the lot, because there was one with horses in it, and not a fan of horses, but also I don't think that story worked particularly well either. House Swap 101 was, I think, their best book. Very good book. This one, it's 3.5. The character work was fine. I just don't know why they're together. I also read Texture Over Taste by Joshua Weisman. It's a cookbook. Cookbook I read on Kindle. If you remember, the last one I read on Kindle was 300 steamer recipes, and there was no pictures in it. Not the problem with this one. Plenty of pictures, great pictures. I like Joshua Weisman's YouTube page. I watch a lot of his videos. His writing styles, much like his conversational style in his YouTube videos. I would say that a lot of these recipes I probably wouldn't make simply for the fact that some of them call for equipment that I just don't have. As I mentioned in the 300 steamer recipes, that one was chock full of seafood recipes. I'm not a seafood fan. This one, I think, had a few seafood, but the majority were dishes. So I was like, yeah, I could make that or would like to make that. There are more than a few recipes that I'm like, yeah, I'm going to try this at some point. It was fun to read, but probably for one reason or another, I probably eliminate half the recipes in there without even going too in depth in it. But I enjoyed the writing style. Give it a 4 star. Then another series by Lise Gold. It is the Resort series, basically set in this one resort area. The first one is Welcome to Paradise. Lisa Walker is out of a job, so she goes to this place while she's searching for jobs online. She's from London originally, and she meets Stella, who's a poolside manager at the hotel. Of course, she's not supposed to get involved with the hotel customers, but they develop a relationship, and then Lisa keeps finding reasons not to leave yet, and then maybe she can work from here. It's fine. Uh, I will say, out of the 3 books in the series, this was the one that I connected to with the least. Part of that may have to do with the fact that it probably took me like 3 months to read this because I was going through a phase where I was reading a lot of books, and I read this one probably, yeah, over a 3 month period. The other 2 books, I read both of those this week. It probably only took me a day or two to read each book. The first one, I finished it this week. I started it in May, June. I give that one a 3.5 stars. After Sunset, a couple of the characters in here, well, Stella and Lisa are in it also, but they're side characters in this one. The other characters, Zoe, who's a chef, she was introduced like partway through Welcome to Paradise, and she meets Marcy, who is construction. Zoe almost immediately strongly dislikes Marcy, which, if we've read Welcome to Paradise, we know why Zoe dislikes Marcy. We get that information in Welcome to Paradise, and then after Sunset kind of goes back a little bit to where they first meet on this job, and then moves it forward, and then we get the reveal that we've already received in Welcome to Paradise why Zoe dislikes Marcy. I gotta be honest, I can understand Zoe's point of view, sorta, but then I'm also like, ah, that's way too much antagonism for what happened. And so, even though there's some validity to perhaps her point of view about Marcy, it's a little bit hard to get on Zoe's side, I guess. Uh, Plus, even after it's a romance. You know it's going to happen even that after they get together. Zoe has the occasional throwing this thing back in her face, and I'm like, hey, if you're going to be with her, there's no reason to be a dick. If you're throwing something in somebody's face, either you got to be like, this bothers me, and so this isn't going to work out, or I need to get my ass over this. I mean, and she does, but kind of a pain in the ass about it for a while. There is also a huge part of this is about a lynx. This was generally enjoyable. I don't know how I feel about this relationship at the end. You know, sometimes I talk about like, do I think this relationship lasts after the book? And sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, definitely. And so they're like, no, they broke up like 2 pages after the book ended. This one, I just don't know. I could see it going both ways. I mean, obviously, there's a third book, and they are mentioning it too, and they're still together. But I'm kind of like, eh. But overall, a good book, 4 stars. Paradise Pride. Megan, who is a London-based casino manager, she goes to the same resort uh, with her best friend, who is there to see a guy. They just happen to go there during a Pride Week, basically, and she's straight. And there's some issues with the hotel, so that she is like checked in to the hotel, but the hotel isn't open, so she basically has to stay there, and she meets Florence, a bartender there, who basically has to babysit her the first night because there has to be an employee there. And Florence is queer and likes Megan. And, you know, of course, they grow closer together. Megan has some trauma issues that we get into. And the two of them grow close together, and of course, eventually they get together. Uh, I probably like this couple the most, except for the fact that Megan just realized, oh, I guess I like women. And this all happens, this initial thing where she's at this resort, less than a week's time. And Florence is kind of like, oh no, you can't be hiding me from your friend, and you have to make these decisions and stuff. And it's like, okay, kind of understand that. But 4 days ago, this woman thought she was straight. Things have kind of turned around for her, and you're kind of pressuring her. So, although I probably like this book the most out of the three, I can only give it a 4 star because I got a little annoyed with the character of Florence, and I kind of felt like, and I don't usually say this a lot with Lise Gold because I generally enjoy her writing. This was one of the ones where I kind of felt, oh, they did that third act breakup kind of thing, and I felt like it was like mainly put on Megan, and I'm like, no, no. I think if Florence had just been a little bit understanding, that this shit wouldn't have happened. So I just a little bit disappointed because I did enjoy it up to a certain point, and then at a certain point I'm like, oh, I'm not happy with this, and then it got back on track. Next is The System by Nicole Pyland. This is the fourth book in the Fire Universe series. It's basically kind of a thriller series, a little bit. It's romance and I guess mystery suspense sort of. In this one, Kieran Hart, she starts working at a company that does DNA stuff, and she found out a few years ago when her father got sick with cancer, that she was adopted. So she puts her DNA there. And then a police detective, Dylan, who we've met in previous Fire Universe books, basically says, well, your DNA has been found at a crime scene. And basically, what it breaks down to is she has a twin sister, and her twin sister was married to the person who was murdered. And so now she's just found out she had a twin sister, and now she's trying to save her twin sister, who she doesn't really know. And she kind of runs into the assistant district attorney, Karina. Of course, there's attraction there. I didn't think I was going to like the Fire Universe books when I was reading all the Nicole Pyland books. There were some that I said I'm probably not going to read those, and there's some that I haven't because they're in genres. I'm like, I don't think I'm going to enjoy that. And initially, these fell into them, but I ended up reading the first one. And now I've read all four, and I generally enjoy all four. I also like that the characters in the previous three books have also showed up here. Uh, Enjoyable. I like the relationship between the two. I have minor quibbles. I kind of wish there was more between the twins, more interactions. Give it a 4 star. Risking Her Heart by Lindsey Pennington. Georgia is a photographer. Her wife has passed away, like a bit before the start of this. Her wife was also like almost 20 years older than her. And she goes back to take care of her mother, who has cancer, I believe. But her mother and her sister haven't really seen much of Georgia because Georgia's parents pretty much like, you can't be gay, and if you're gay, then can't be in our lives, kind of thing. So even when Georgia comes back to take care of her mom like, mom puts across that uh, her partner Margaret, whose nickname is Marty, uh, is a man, suggests that Marty is a man, and also not that Marty has died, but Marty cheated on her and left her, and puts that across to like people in the community. So, you know, Georgia's coping with her wife dying, and her mother's like, no, you can't do that. She meets Liv, who's a vet. I mean, she knew Liv when she was younger. Liv divorced the man. As far as Georgia knows, Liv is straight. She's not. The reason she got divorced is because she realizes she's not straight. So there's a little misunderstanding between the two of them. And one of the reasons I don't rate it as high as I do, there's just a real effort for Georgia not to use pronouns about Marty. And it's pretty clumsy some of the time. So uh, that's a little bit disappointing. I like the relationship between the two of them. I don't like a lot of the character work with the other characters. I don't buy any changes that happen. So I'm going to give this one 3.5 stars, mainly based on the relationship between Lib and Georgia. Love's Learning Curve, also by Lindsey Pennington. Skylar Nash has come back to her hometown to take care of her siblings after her mom died in a car accident. Uh, she has a sister who I believe is 19 in college, and also has two teenagers. One of them, a boy who's very much a pain in the ass. I mean, I know his mom died, but damn, dude. And also got her mom's best friend Leela there, who is a teacher at the high school where the kids go to, and also was at one point Skylar's teacher. Skylar is now a math teacher. Uh, and Layla kind of says some things about Skylar, about her not being able to handle stuff that Skylar overhears, even though perhaps Layla didn't mean it like that. So makes Skylar kind of antagonistic. But of course, Skylar was attracted to Layla when she was younger, and she's still attracted to her now. She has a girlfriend now, though, although that girlfriend's back in Minnesota, and well, their relationship hasn't been good. I I think this book gets worse as it goes along. It's never awful, but it's kind of like it got to the point where it's like 3/4 the way through. If it had been that bad at the beginning of the book, I might have DNF'd it. But now I want to kind of like get through it because I've done that much. But it started out pretty well. But I think overall it ends at a 3.5. I don't really see the relationship here, and I didn't really feel many of the characters. Write Your Own Script by A.L. Brooks. Tamsin Harris is an actress. She basically goes into hiding for a few weeks after a run-in with the director who was being a major dick. Uh, well, there, she also meets Maggie, who is an author. She writes under two pseudonyms. One of them is historical fiction, and one of them is sapphic romances. And Tamsin is in the closet. The two of them almost immediately develop uh, lust, I guess I would say. Uh, and a one night stand turns into another and another. And they are, by the end of Tamsin's time there, they're pretty much enamored of each other. They just can't get necessarily past Tamsin being in the closet. They go their separate ways, and they're apart for like 8 months, and then they get back together for one reason or another, which I won't go into. I generally enjoyed this. I do feel that sometimes Maggie was a little bit harsh about coming out, and also there there are things about a person coming out and a person being forced out, and I think there wasn't enough looked back at people being forced out of the closet. I think it was a little bit too glossed over. Uh, but overall, I enjoyed it. I really liked the chemistry between the two. They appear in another A.L. Brooks book that I've read this week, uh, and they're still together. And I'm like, yeah, I buy that. I'm going to give that one a 4 star. And the last book is Hunter by Eliza Lentzski. I've read a few books by her. When I talk about my summer wrap up, one of my best books, I don't remember where it falls in it, but one of my best books will be a book by her. This one is part of the Winter Jacket series, which is about a relationship between Hunter and her professor. The book Winter Jacket is told from the professor's point of view, and it's a 400 plus page book. This one's told from Hunter's point of view, and it only goes through basically the first third of Winter Jacket, basically until they physically get together. Uh, Now, Hunter is technically the fifth book in the Winter Jacket series, but I read most of the first book, Winter Jacket, and I saw that Hunter was basically a companion piece of this. So I've read both of those books kind of in tandem to each other up until the point that Hunter ends. Uh, it's fine for what it is. I notice I've seen this like with a Haley Cass book, like When You Least Expect It. There's also a companion piece, Better Than Expected, where the companion piece book is told from the other point of view that we don't get in the first book. I think in the Haley Cass books, those two books should have just had been one book with both point of views. I kind of understand in this one, although I do think the Hunter point of view one doesn't stand up as well as Winter Jacket with the professor's point of view. Uh, but it was a decent enough read. I'm going to give it 3.5 stars. So that is my weekly reading wrap up. I'm going to try to continue to do these weekly, fitting the title. But until then, please like and subscribe, leave a comment. Talk to you next time.